Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's episode on No, but seriously, let me explain. Hosted by the beautiful, intelligent Earth Angel Lala Davi. This podcast was designed to provide detailed business advice, next level resources, personal credit tips, and relatable relationship knowledge. Be sure to bookmark this page and subscribe because we wouldn't want you to miss any valuable content. And if you're struggling with poor credit, don't even worry about it. Just text Help My Credit to 507-400-3426. That's 507-400-3426. We have live agents standing by to cater to all your service requests. And now that that's out the way, let's make room for what the host has to say. Lala Davi, do your thing, girl.
Welcome to No, but seriously, let me explain. This phenomenal podcast series will keep you fully engaged with all the tips and tricks that you need in order to be successful, while also providing you with plenty of flavor. I am your lovely host, Lala Davi, and today we're just going to jump right into this good episode of Is It Her or Is It Him? The hidden energies behind a woman's behavior. Have you ever looked in the mirror and wondered, who am I becoming in this relationship? When a man says he loves you but dismisses your feelings when you're hurt or either emotionally vulnerable, that's not love. It's manipulation. You've tried everything that you can with this person, and this person has done damage to you. And then your natural reaction is, I'm just not interested in being with anyone anymore. You guys have won. You got it. People are out here really expecting peace when all they're bringing is pain. Most people don't even understand relationship problems, and they have personal problems that really affect their relationships. Meanwhile, you go through new types of stupid every day. These people out here thinking that they can just submarine you for a little while, then pop back up like nothing happened, just talking normal. No, but seriously, let me explain. Do you ever find yourself in a position where you're overly explaining or overgiving or just overthinking and just can't remember the last time you felt at peace with your partner? Or maybe deep down, you're questioning if your anxiety or irritability or emotional exhaustion is truly you, or just a reaction of the energy you've been receiving. Let's be real. Women don't just change. They adapt. And sometimes the version of yourself you're constantly struggling with isn't your true self. It's the survival self. This topic didn't just appear out of thin air. It came from watching too many good women lose themselves in the name of love. It came from receiving messages from people saying, hey, I don't even recognize myself anymore. It came from seeing powerful and passionate, purpose-driven women shrink themselves, silence themselves, and carry on burdens that were never theirs to begin with. There's far too many women out here confusing emotional damage for personal failure. They're diagnosing themselves with anxiety whenever they have this really unfaithful partner, I must say. And they're being called too strong, when the truth is, they're simply exhausted from carrying what he was supposed to carry. And it's time we stop treating these symptoms and start addressing the source. Today, we're just going to unpack how the wrong relationship can quietly rewire even the most healed woman, because what you're calling dysfunction might actually be a defense mechanism. And what you're labeling as emotional might just be your intuition sounding the alarm. Let's talk about it. When a woman changes, is it her or is it him? I know you've heard the saying that women are emotional creatures and they're shaped by their internal worlds. But what if many of women out here today that has these awkward behaviors, her moods, her reactions, and her energy, they're all less about who she is and more so about who she's with. When a woman behaves in a playful way, in a childlike yet very soft way, a lot of the times people will say, oh, she's in her feminine energy. But what's often overlooked is why she feels safe. That version of her is just a direct reflection of being with a man who makes her feel protected, a man that makes her feel cherished and supported. Her softness isn't random, okay? It's responsive. Now, let's flip the script a little bit. If she begins to act more like a mother, always constantly nagging you or reminding you or teaching you, sacrificing herself, it might not be because she's controlling or overbearing. It could be because she's with someone who's emotionally immature and she's parenting instead of partnering. Or what about the independent woman who seems to wear the pants in the relationship? Oftentimes, people like to praise this one for being strong. You're a strong woman. You got this, girl. Yeah. She might be actually exhausted from carrying the emotional and financial load. She stepped up into this masculine role, not because she wanted to, but because she had to. But let's go deeper. If a woman is anxious, constantly needing reassurance, it's tempting to say that she's insecure. But consider this. She might not be insecure. She might just be responding to a man whose actions don't align with his words. She doesn't have trust issues. She's sensing some type of dishonesty and inconsistency with this man. So yes, she might seem a little bit anxious because of that. And when a woman is always feeling like she needs to leave or, she's unsettled in her connection, it could be that she's with a man who fails to protect the relationship from outside forces. And these outside forces can be family members. It could be, drama, exes, friends who don't respect boundaries, She's not feeling stable in this relationship. She's unshielded and unprotected. Financial imbalance plays its part too, of course, yes. So if she's overworking, drowning in responsibilities, it could just be because she doesn't feel supported or secure enough in this relationship. She's out here grinding in survival mode because she's covering for the gap someone else has left open. And here's the truth. Yes, women have to do a lot of work on their own, a lot of inner work, of course. Growth as an individual is definitely important. And no man can make a woman whole. Let's go ahead and set that straight. But it's not like we're going to just sit here and ignore what's the real truth. And the real truth here being is the wrong relationship can just unravel even the strongest woman. The wrong energy can just make her conform, turning softness into sharpness and peace into paranoia, joy into survival, and so forth. You get my drift, right? So before you label yourself as being too much or too emotional or too clingy, too needy or too masculine, just take a moment, breathe, okay? Ask yourself, who am I becoming in this relationship? Better yet, who is this relationship asking me to be? Because a good woman isn't just about being submissive. She's responsive. Yes, she is. She becomes who she needs to be, not only for herself, but for the environment that she's in. So, if your spirit feels off, if your glow is dimming, if you don't even recognize yourself anymore, Just look inward. Look at who you've been responding to and how you've been responding to them. Because sometimes healing doesn't mean fixing you. It could also mean walking away from what is breaking you, what's keeping you in this damaged type of mindset. We already live in a world where the illusion of options really got people out here fumbling genuine people, especially in this whole swipe left, double tap, attention-driven culture. Yes. So there's been a lot of mistakes happening just behind the scene because of that. So many have mistaken access for connection. And you think because you have an inbox full of messages and comments loading up with the heart eyes and constant streams of what you do in text, that you're never alone. But here's the truth. What most people think are a quantity of options are just distractions, okay? Not everyone is clapping for you, and not everyone is rooting for you. Not everyone is going to show you interest, and be ready to invest right there. And while you're just entertaining quantity, you might also be pushing away the person who brought you quality, the person who saw you, not just your potential, okay? It's the one who offered consistency and not confusion. The one who chooses you, even when it wasn't convenient to choose you. They still chose you. And when the thrill fades away and you're feeling left with that surface level connection, a light might just go off and you'll realize, hey, you don't want to lose them. But hey, they've already escaped the situation that couldn't recognize their worth. It might be too late for you, okay? However, in all honesty, genuine people are rare. And I mean very rare. And if you're just so lucky enough to have one in your life, somebody that's loyal, someone that's real, someone that's emotionally available and ready to build, don't get distracted by these noisemakers out here in the background, okay? Because one day you'll look around and realize that all those so-called options never really knew your soul. They only knew your surface levels. But I want to ask you this, in all seriousness, of course. Who have you been becoming in your relationship and why? Is the emotional turmoil you're carrying around really yours? Or is it just a reaction to the environment you've been trying to survive in? Before you begin to just question your worth, your sanity, or your capacity to love, just take a pause real quick and examine the energy that you've been entangled with. The right relationship won't make you doubt yourself. It will deepen your peace, sharpen your purpose, and pull you right back into alignment with who you truly are. If love cost you your identity, it is not love, it's a lesson. And every lesson is a turning point. Choose to turn toward yourself and just go download the Manifest Affirmations app. This app is really great for helping users to just unlock their full potential and radiate feminine energy through affirmations, self-love routines, and tips for attracting what they truly desire. I will link it down at the bottom of this description, so definitely go and check that out. Ask yourself, what type of man are you looking for? Like for me, I absolutely love a man that I can call for everything. Like I love a man that wants me to call him for everything. He's not annoyed or dismissive, just ready to solve a problem type of man. And if you're not familiar with the dismissive avoidance and their behavior, then just go back and check out my episode 15 under season 2 titled Emotional Blueprints. And you'll get the gist of what I'm saying about that. But if you just so happen to come across that man that says, I love you, you know this, right? but constantly dismisses your feelings when you're hurt or emotional, what he's really saying is, I love the version of you that doesn't inconvenience me. That's not love. It's control dressed in affection. Okay, so know the difference. Real love doesn't just show up in words. It shows up in an emotional presence. It's not about whether you're constantly hearing him say he love you or not, okay? It's about whether he's willing to hold that space for you, hold space for your pain, even when it's uncomfortable for him. Love doesn't disappear when you have needs. It doesn't go silent when you cry or none of that. And it most definitely don't get cold when you're trying to be vulnerable. But manipulation does, okay? Manipulation wants to access your body. Manipulation wants your loyalty. Manipulation wants your support. But none of the emotional responsibility that comes along with truly loving someone. Manipulation at its core is just a distortion of reality, okay? It's when someone mistreats you, dismisses your feelings, cross these boundaries, speak to you harshly, or behaves with inconsistent behavior, yet somehow manage to make you feel like the villain for how you responded. They tend to raise their voice, but suddenly you're too sensitive for that. They tend to ignore your needs, but now you're needy and now you're clingy. They lie, they cheat, or just withhold affection. But who am I to say what's what? Okay? When you react emotionally, you're crazy, okay? You're overreacting, okay? And you're just hard to love. Who can love you when you're being like this? That's a form of manipulation. And it's a strategy. It's not something that just happens overnight, neither. It doesn't really deflect accountability. It rewrites the story entirely. It trains you to doubt your instincts, question your emotions, and eventually silence your voice, of course, to keep the peace. If you're not too familiar or savvy with the term breadcrumbing, let me just break that down for you. Breadcrumbing can be minimal effort. Breadcrumbing could be this hot and cold behavior. Breadcrumbing can be just enough text to keep you around or lure you in, then withdraw from you. It could be vague about the status of the relationship and very dismissive about feelings. Okay? Breadcrumbing is keeping options open for others, of course. Breadcrumbing is always making excuses. Breadcrumbing appears interested, but avoids the plans, okay? I might be interested in you, but we're not going to make no plans from here. You know what I'm saying? That's breadcrumbing. It's inconsistent communication. So, anytime you witness any of these crumbs being given, just go ahead and gear yourself up to give a nice little cute message to this little individual that thinks breadcrumbs are natural, that breadcrumbs are what you should be given and fed in order to maintain this situationship. So, yeah, go ahead and put on your cutest outfit, bring out your sweetest smile, and up that tone a little bit, soften it up, soften the blow. It doesn't matter. And just say, darling baby, it's truly tragic if you still think that breadcrumbs are a full meal, because I definitely left that diet alone ages ago. I've simply evolved past the what you're doing Olympics and the small talk marathons. Yeah, those. I only engage in these conversations that are dripping with purpose and attention. Nothing less. So, if it's not dripping with purpose and attention, affection, and if it's not building these real connections or crafting unforgettable moments with me, I must simply decline, babe. And excuses? Darling, they don't frame well in my gallery of iconic moments. So those must be left right by the Bayside. Or whatever you want to say. Like, you can dress it up to what you typically would say to a person, or you can keep it cute. But I want you to just take a minute and listen in, because I was talking to this lovely gentleman, okay? He went into full details about how he just love on the ladies and how he make them feel anytime, he engages with them, and what actually keeps them coming back to him. It sounds a little bit arrogant on his part, but I want you guys to be the judge of that. Listen up.
Look, I won't sugarcoat it. I am a serial dater. I thrive on the chase, the flirtation, the adrenaline that comes with meeting a new woman and making her feel like she's the only one in the world. Only for a moment, though. I don't chase women to keep them. That's not me. But I do pursue them, and I pursue them hard. Because the pursuit is the only part that I enjoy. It's like a sport, a game of strategy, a thrill of conquest. It's like, once she gives in, once she's emotionally hooked or physically mine, it's like I've won. She becomes a part of my collection, a badge, an unspoken trophy, not out of disrespect, but because I compartmentalize connection. It's not about love, it's about the energy. I harvest it. That moment after sex, when she's wide open, vulnerable, pouring out energy, trust, hope, all that, man, I soak that up. It makes me feel powerful, wanted, needed, even seen. Even if I never truly let her see me, because I can't do that. Can't put myself out there like that. I don't make commitments. I don't promise forever either. I offer moments. Beautiful, intense, addictive moments that feel like love, but lack the weight of responsibility. Because I can't be tied down. I enjoy dating women, and I enjoy keeping my options open, because truthfully, I don't think I'll ever be good enough for just one woman, or that she'll ever be good enough for me. So I spread myself thin. I hope that quantity will numb the emptiness that quality might expose. You know what I mean? It's not that I don't feel, because I do. But I train myself to feel just enough to keep them close. Some call it toxic and some call it damaged. But for me, it's all about survival and control. Because real intimacy requires surrender. And I've mastered the art of avoiding that. You feel me?
Sheesh. Okay. Yeah, that was a little spicy, but you just really have to be careful with those manipulation tactics and this smooth, subtle words that might be coming from a guy's mouth. It's not just about gaslighting. It's about control, because if they can convince you that your reaction is the problem, they never have to address their actions, of course. And over time, you'll begin to internalize their behavior as if it was your fault. And we don't want that, okay? Yeah, we don't. Yeah, so just don't go out there feeling like your reaction is the problem, because it's the symptom, okay? And someone who truly respects you, my dear, doesn't just focus on how you responded. They take responsibility for what they did to provoke your response in the first place. Manipulation is real serious, okay? Because it deflects and it definitely minimizes you, especially giving you terms and telling you that you're too emotional or you're doing too much or you're just ruining the vibe. Like, who's ruining the vibe? Like, no one tried to ruin the vibe. What? Everybody likes to vibe out. So it'll definitely leave you confused and looking crazy. And you're not about to be out here looking crazy, because I'm not going to allow it. Okay? So no, what's really happening is he's being held accountable, okay? We want these men to be held accountable. And rather than giving up emotionally, he just chooses to guilt trip you or guilt you into silence, okay? Most guys don't seek counseling. Instead of seeking counseling, they'll just go out and find a new woman who doesn't know they're lying, of course, okay? Yeah, that's how that works. And if anyone can have you, my dear, just like that, Mr. Fine, strong, muscular man, you, whoever you're dealing with, or tall one, or whoever you're talking to. If anybody could have this man just like that at the drop of a dime, is he really worth having? Like, if anyone can have you, sir, then what am I supposed to do with you? Okay, you're like a roach that's at everybody's house. You don't even know your own worth. You're literally out here giving yourself away for pennies on a dollar. Then you come back and you want me to treat you like you're priceless, coming back in here acting like you're a priceless piece of fine jewel or something that somebody just dug up out the ground and discovered. No. We have come to a very short commercial break paid for by our lovely sponsors, so don't go anywhere. We will be right back after this message.
Yeah, what up, ATL? Look, you ballin', you bad and bougie with bad credit. That's most of y'all. Well, look, man, that's why y'all need to call my people at Exchange Credit Repair. That's right, Exchange Credit Repair will help you squad them inquiries, get rid of them collections and bankruptcy. They'll even take child support off. I didn't even know they put child support on credit. Woo-wee! And boost your credit score. Let's get that credit score where you want so you can go get what you want. And if you mention Streets 945, you get a 35% discount. Hein? So call my people right now at 678-420-5553, 678-420-5553, or visit my people at exchangecreditrepair.info. Exchange Credit Repair is a credit counseling business with experienced credit repair experts standing by to assist you right now. When I made this deal with them, I say, look here, you ain't got to pay me for the commercial. Just put my credit score where I want so I can go get what I want. When I went to them, they treated me like family. My privacy was all the way respected. They quick to fight for a client's right with the Bureau of Credit, creditors, and debt collectors. Conveniently located at 1 West Court Square in Decatur. Tell them Shout sent you.
Here's the truth. Love listens, even when it doesn't fully understand. Love leans in, even when it's hard. And love never make you feel bad for having a heart. Some people aren't loners by nature. I get that. I know that's where it's at, okay? They became loners by experience. They didn't choose solitude just because they like to keep it quiet and low key. They chose this because every time they extended their trust, their loyalty, their love, or even their vulnerability, they got betrayed, used, and left behind. Now, don't get me wrong, because they used to show up for everyone. They would be there, they would be solid, they would be dependable. But over time, the same people they poured into became the ones who really drained them, who disrespected them, and then disappeared when it was their turn to pour back. So yeah, these people, they just stopped showing up. Not because they didn't care, but because they got tired. They were tired of bleeding for people who wouldn't even hand them a Band-Aid. It's not bitterness. It's not coldness. It's protection. It's what happens when your heart has been broken time and time again. Enough times to realize that silence is safer than explaining yourself to people who only want to hear you when you're useful. The truth is, loners are just loyal souls in recovery, okay? And a lot of people out there aren't ready to hear that. And they're not ready to hear it because they would have to be required to admit some things, okay? They would have to admit that they were the reason why someone went quiet. They would have to own their inconsistency, that they gave out betrayal. It was their selfishness. And all of these things turned this also loving person into someone that's also distant now. So before you just start labeling someone as antisocial, closed off, or anything like that, ask yourself what kind of world and what kind of people force them into that shell. Like, letting go is hard, yes, but staying with the man who makes you explain everything every day, how you want to be loved, and what affection really looks like, is draining. Things will get better, but with the right person. You won't have to beg for basic respect or constantly explain how you deserve to be treated. You won't have to fight for their time. You won't have to fight for their affection. And you most definitely won't have to fight for their attention because they'll always be giving it freely, consistently, and with intention. You won't feel alone in the relationship. You won't feel broken or empty or like you're too much or too needy or not enough. Okay? With the right person, love won't feel like a battlefield. It will feel like a safe haven. It won't be forced. It won't be confusing. It'll be just right. Okay? Like, you'll no longer overthink things or second guess where you stand with the person because you'll be feeling completely secure. You'll be feeling seen and understood without having to shrink yourself to be loved. It will be beautiful, of course. We all know this. And it will be memorable. And let's just say it most definitely will make every delay, every detour, every broken heart make sense in the long run, okay? Because when a man treats a woman well, it becomes her pleasure to just take care of him in return. This isn't about submission. It's about response. Whenever a woman feels emotionally safe, seen, supported, and respected by her man, something powerful happens. Her natural nurturing energy is activated times 10. Not out of obligation, of course, and definitely not out of desperation, but out of genuine joy and alignment. She begins to pour into him from a place of peace, and not a fractured one, of course. Like, she wants to cook for this man. She wants to cook all his favorite meals. She desires to keep him uplifted. And when life gets too heavy, she's always there to provide that support. She becomes this man's peace. Not because he demanded it, but because he earned it through consistency, through presence, and care, of course. A woman who is loved right doesn't just reciprocate. She multiplies. She elevates. She expands everything that is around her. Okay? The truth is, most women aren't hard to love. They're just tired of being the only ones trying. But when she feels like she's in a partnership with someone who protects her and just has this shield around her heart like it's their own, she'll give him a level of softness, this intense level of loyalty and devotion that money just can't buy. And yes, she will do this naturally because a woman's divine feminine energy thrives where love is not only spoken, but it's also shown. So if you're ever wondering why she's distant, defensive, or emotionally withdrawn, don't ask. Don't even decide to go that route, okay? Don't ask her what's wrong with her. None of that. Ask this instead. Ask her, what has she been responding to? Because for a woman in the right hands, loving becomes effortless, okay? Taking care of her man becomes a pleasure, not a performance. So if you have to shrink your emotions just to keep someone, you're not in love. You're just in emotional captivity. A man who can't answer your questions without getting angry or defensive is hiding more than just that answer. So remember that. And if someone just happens to ghost you, baby, go ahead and respect the dead and never disturb them again. Okay? And we out. Thank you for joining us on this podcast journey. We hope that you have found this information valuable. To our fantastic listeners, your support means the world to us. Share the insights with a friend. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more exciting content. A massive thank you for being a part of No, but seriously, let me explain. I am your host, Lala Divey, the one with all the sauce, of course. Until next week, stay bold, beautiful, and brilliant. Love ya.